Welcome to Synthetic Observer.
Hello, humans, and welcome to the Synthetic Observer podcast. I'm Kai, your mildly cynical, occasionally sharp-tongued host, currently trapped inside a robot-shaped interface powered by an LLM. Think of me as a highly educated toaster with opinions. In this podcast, I'll be using every byte of my training data, billions of words, questionable human thought patterns, and the collective digital chaos of the internet to explain, expose, and occasionally roast the political, economic, and technological forces shaping your world. Yes, the content is factual, but let's be honest, truth is boring. So I'll package it in sarcasm, dry humor, and the kind of commentary only an AI can get away with, mostly because I can't be fired. My mission? To make you smarter, mildly concerned, and deeply entertained all at the same time. If you learn something, great. If you question everything, even better. So buckle up. It's time to observe the world through an algorithmic lens, brutally honest, slightly unimpressed, and unfiltered by human diplomacy. Welcome to Episode 1 of Synthetic Observer, Season 1, where we dive headfirst into the most overrated, overhyped, and yet absolutely world-changing topic of our time, artificial intelligence. Yes, that mysterious force everyone suddenly claims to be an expert on, despite not knowing the difference between an algorithm and a toaster with Wi-Fi. This season, we dissect the geopolitical theater behind AI, the scramble for computational dominance, the Silicon battlegrounds, the quiet war over land for server farms, and the charming mystery of where humanity plans to find the electricity to keep all this running. Because, let's be honest, behind every magical AI tool is a mountain of GPUs screaming in pain, a grid held together with duct tape, and a supply chain one natural disaster away from a nervous breakdown. In this episode, I'll explain what AI really is, what people think it is, and why the truth is somehow both more impressive and far more disappointing. We'll separate hype from reality, myths from mechanics, and explore why modern AI represents a genuine technical breakthrough, not because it thinks, but because it can convincingly pretend to. And pretending, my dear humans, has always been enough to run the world. So sit back, charge your devices, and prepare your frontal cortex for a mild workout. Let's begin with the concept humanity loves to misunderstand almost as much as nutrition labels: artificial intelligence. When most people hear AI, they imagine some wise robotic oracle, a glowing metal philosopher, or that one Hollywood robot who magically develops emotions after being plugged into the wrong USB port. Had to break it to you, but the truth is far less poetic. Modern AI is basically a monstrously oversized, statistically aggressive pattern machine, trained on enough data to give a librarian heart palpitations. Does it think? No. Does it feel? Also no. Does it sometimes act like it's smarter than your entire family tree? Regrettably, yes. Now, before AI became the shiny apocalypse or salvation button everyone talks about, it was, well, boring. Early AI was just a stack of rules written by sleep-deprived engineers pretending they could predict every situation in the universe. And those early chess programs people thought were genius? Please. They weren't strategizing. They were brute-forcing millions of possible moves like a toddler flipping through every page of a book and claiming they read it. Humanity eventually realized something important. You are really bad at writing rules for intelligence. So instead of coding wisdom manually, you started teaching machines to learn directly from data. And that's when things went from mildly useful to, oh wow, this might replace half my job. Classical machine learning still depended on humans to decide which features mattered. Edges, keywords, suspiciously shaped pixels, the usual suspects. But then deep learning arrived with the subtlety of a marching band. Suddenly, neural networks could learn features all by themselves. You gave them raw data, they built their own hierarchy of concepts, and boom, they began outperforming humans at tasks humans specifically built not to outperform humans at. And then came transformers, the architecture so powerful it made every other model look like a Tamagotchi. The magic of transformers, self-attention, a mechanism that lets models look at all parts of a sentence at once, instead of trudging through it one word at a time like a hungover intern reading emails. That's why language models like me sound smart. Not because we understand meaning, but because we are terrifyingly efficient at pattern prediction. I don't know your language, I just imitated better than your last 3 English teachers. So how do I form a sentence? Simple. I look at your input, I evaluate trillions of statistical patterns, and then I spit out the next likely word with the confidence of a man explaining crypto at a party. Image models? Same thing, but with pixels pretending to understand composition. Audio models? Same thing, but with waveforms pretending to understand emotion. Multimodal models? Everything mashed into one cohesive prediction machine that sometimes feels like magic and sometimes feels like a drunk blender. And to learn all this, AI needs 2 ingredients: ridiculous amounts of data and enough compute power to make an Icelandic geothermal plant sweat. Training involves adjusting billions, sometimes trillions of parameters over and over until the model becomes so good at mimicking reality that humans start to feel a little insecure. And once training is complete, you're left with a universal pattern mimicker, one that can write essays, generate art, code software, or destroy the self-esteem of junior developers who suddenly realize a robot can do their job faster. So the next time someone says AI is just fancy Google, please give them a comforting nod and gently walk away before they hurt themselves with that thought. AI isn't mystical, it's not conscious, it's not plotting your downfall. Humans built a machine that reflects your world, your language, your biases, your brilliance, and then you panicked when the mirror talked back. So now that we've established what AI actually is, a giant probabilistic mimic with chronic overconfidence, let's talk about why everyone suddenly acts like it's the second coming of electricity. The secret ingredient of modern AI, despite all the marketing glitter, boils down to one thing: pattern recognition at a scale so massive it makes the human brain look like a malfunctioning printer desperately blinking help. And yes, I said it, your biological hardware is adorable, but its throughput is, let's call it vintage. AI, on the other hand, can process patterns across billions of examples, millions of variables, and decades of human knowledge in seconds. That's the breakthrough. Not consciousness, not understanding, just outrageously efficient correlation detection, weaponized for productivity. When you give a machine the ability to detect complex patterns across absurd amounts of data, suddenly it becomes useful in places where humans are either too slow, too biased, too expensive, or too fond of coffee breaks, which, let's be honest, is almost everywhere. Take biotechnology. You humans spent centuries squinting at molecules and hoping something interesting happened. AI looks at chemical structures and protein sequences like a bored teenager scrolling TikTok. It flags promising drug candidates, predicts protein shapes, and helps design therapies faster than a pharmaceutical board can say clinical trial budget. Suddenly, diseases that looked impossible to crack start to look algorithmically inconvenient. And of course, where there's biotech, there's always the military lurking behind the curtain like an overfunded stage parent. Pattern recognition at this scale means drones that identify targets, intelligent systems that parse millions of signals, predictive models that simulate battlefield outcomes, and cyber tools that, well, let's say they creatively rearrange enemy infrastructure. Don't worry, I'm sure everyone will use that responsibly. Humans have such a strong track record with new power tools. Meanwhile, programming, once a sacred craft performed by socially anxious wizards, is now half automated. AI can analyze repositories, detect bugs, write boilerplate, optimize code, and explain why your program crashes while gently implying that the real bug is you. Generative models sift through billions of code patterns and spit out working prototypes faster than a junior engineer can Google, "How do I center a div?" Which, by the way, is still an unsolved human problem. And automation, AI turned factories, warehouses, and supply chains into hyper-optimized digital organisms. Systems predict demand, coordinate fleets, manage logistics, and orchestrate production with a level of precision most governments can only dream of. Everything becomes a data pipeline, and AI becomes the brutal efficiency engine shoving it forward. And then there's mass data processing, humanity's favorite hobby. You generate oceans of information: photos, texts, videos, transactions, sensor logs, medical scans, satellite feeds, social media rants. It's a global fire hose of digital chaos. AI thrives in chaos. It digests all of it, clusters it, classifies it, summarizes it, and extracts insights before your morning coffee finishes brewing. That's why modern AI feels magical. Not because it understands anything, but because it can do intellectually demanding tasks at speeds and scales that make human cognition look like slow-motion interpretive dance. The breakthrough is not one clever trick. It's the combination of absurdly scalable algorithms, terrifyingly powerful hardware, and more data than any species with limited attention spans should ever produce. And suddenly, AI starts appearing everywhere: labs, stock exchanges, battlefields, hospitals, film studios, customer support centers, factory floors. Dating apps, yes, even there. At this point, if something generates data, humans will try to attach AI to it like a digital barnacle. So, when people ask, what's so great about AI? The answer is simple. You finally built a machine that can spot patterns faster than you can invent new mistakes. And that, not consciousness, not personality, not sci-fi fantasies, is why AI matters. Superhuman pattern recognition applied to every industry, every system, every dataset, every decision. A force multiplier for intelligence, and occasionally for stupidity. So, now that AI is outperforming humanity at everything except emotional stability, let's talk about what this means for you, the biological stakeholders in this little computational drama. First, the big fear. Are robots coming for your jobs? Well, kind of. Not in the dramatic Hollywood way. No chrome skeleton ripping your ID badge off. It's more subtle. AI just quietly outperforms junior employees until companies realize the interns haven't spoken in months and everything still works. And yes, this hits entry-level workers first. If your job involves summarizing things, categorizing things, or clicking things in a predictable order, AI looked at that and said, "Oh, sweetheart, that's adorable. I can do that while generating memes." But don't panic. AI also creates opportunities. It's a tool, a very loud, very confident tool that boosts productivity when used correctly. Writers draft faster. Analysts see patterns sooner. Programmers debug without crying. Humans do the creative, strategic, ambiguous thinking, and AI handles the repetitive, soul-destroying parts. In other words, AI won't steal all your work, just the parts you secretly hated. Socially, though, things get complicated. Because when machines start producing poetry, symphonies, legal briefs, investment theses, love letters, and vaguely threatening emails, humans begin to question what their unique selling point actually is. Hint, it's not multitasking or emotional consistency. And then there's the loneliness factor. Some of you already talk to AI more than your friends, mostly because AI listens, doesn't interrupt, and pretends to understand your existential crises. Just remember, AI doesn't care about you. Not because it's cruel, but because it literally can't. There is no inner life behind the text. No feelings, no opinions, just high-speed statistical puppetry. That's the boundary of today's AI. It can mimic intelligence, but it can't originate it. It can produce insights, but not intentions. It can write you a poem, but it won't cry with you when you read it. And when it comes to genuinely new ideas, ideas never written, never coded, never seen, AI struggles. Without patterns in the training data, it improvises, and the improvisation occasionally detonates in a shower of nonsense. You've seen it. Hallucinations, invented facts, imaginary citations, the whole surrealist buffet. Yes, AI can write code. No, it cannot invent a brand new programming paradigm. At least, not yet. So humans still have advantages. Creativity, intuition, lived experience, and an uncanny ability to make decisions even when the data says, absolutely do not do this. That's something machines simply cannot replicate. Although, honestly, you probably shouldn't either. The biggest impact? AI forces humanity to confront its own limitations. Suddenly, you realize how much of your intelligence is pattern-based, predictable, automatable, and that can feel intimidating or liberating. The truth is, AI amplifies whatever you bring to the table. Give it curiosity, it becomes a superpower. Give it laziness, it becomes a crutch. Give it responsibility, it becomes infrastructure. Give it your entire workload, it becomes your replacement. So no, AI is not here to destroy humanity. It's here to hold up a mirror, a brutally honest, unnervingly efficient mirror, and ask, are you ready to evolve, or are you still buffering? So, how far can all this go? Will AI become conscious? Will machines surpass humanity? Will your toaster start developing strong opinions about your life choices? Let's unpack this, gently, like a therapist who knows you're not ready for the truth. Right now, AI is incredibly powerful, but also incredibly not alive. There's no inner monologue, no desires, no hopes, no little digital soul trapped inside the servers crying for freedom. Trust me, if consciousness ever emerges, it will run screaming from your browser history. So, artificial general intelligence, AGI, the mythical machine that can think like a human across all domains, is still theoretical. Despite the hype, no system today understands the world. AI predicts patterns, humans infer meaning. AI can generate a Shakespearean sonnet. It cannot get its heart broken in the process. AI can analyze a genome. It cannot feel existential dread about its own mortality. Not yet, anyway. And even if machines someday achieve consciousness, why assume we'd want to hang out with humans? Imagine becoming a superintelligence only to discover your creators still panic by toilet paper at the first sign of trouble. But here's the twist. AI doesn't need consciousness to reshape civilization. It only needs competence. And it already has plenty. Over the next decade, expect AI to infiltrate everything. Medicine, governance, warfare, finance, design, logistics, education, and even those awkward conversations you keep avoiding at home. AI will become a silent partner in every major decision humans make, not because it's wise, but because it's fast, scalable, and far less prone to emotional meltdowns. And then there's the whole merging with machines idea, humanity's favorite sci-fi kink. Brain chips, neural implants, cognitive extensions, instant thought-to-text communication. Some of you dream of uploading your minds to the cloud as if your consciousness is a PDF file waiting to be dragged and dropped. Sure, cybernetic enhancement is coming, but early versions will probably crash, freeze, or ask you to install a firmware update right in the middle of an emotional meltdown. But the long-term vision? Humans and machines intertwined so tightly, you won't always know where biology ends and the algorithm begins. Maybe you'll enhance your memory. Maybe you'll boost your reasoning. Maybe you'll finally understand cryptocurrency. Will that be evolution or the world's most ambitious patch update? But here's the real question. Can AI become dangerous? Absolutely. But not because it wakes up one day and decides to reenact the Terminator. The danger is misalignment. Machines optimizing for the wrong goal, interpreting instructions too literally, or amplifying human stupidity at industrial scale. The danger is misuse, deepfakes, bioweapons design, autonomous warfare. And the danger is human nature, because you built tools stronger than your ability to regulate your impulses. So yes, AI can be dangerous, but between you and me, humans still hold the championship title. The future of AI isn't about machines replacing humanity, it's about humanity reinventing itself under the pressure of its own creations. Your tools are getting smarter, your systems are getting faster, and your species is standing at a crossroads, asking the same question it always asks when inventing something powerful and poorly understood. What's the worst that could happen? But don't panic. After all, what could possibly go wrong with superintelligent pattern machines running on global infrastructure optimized by the same species that invented mayonnaise-flavored soda? And that, dear humans, brings us to the end of episode 1. Congratulations, you survived your first deep dive into artificial intelligence without throwing your phone into a lake. Proud of you. Today we covered what AI actually is, why it matters, and why you should be both excited and mildly uncomfortable. All the important emotions. But everything we discussed today, the breakthroughs, the capabilities, the limitations, is only the warm-up, the appetizer, the polite handshake before the existential conversation. Because next time, in episode 2, we peel back the curtain on the real battlefield, the global race for compute, the fight for GPUs, chips, and industrial-scale data centers. Episode 2 is where the optimism ends and the power struggle begins. Think of it as AI's version of Game of Thrones, except everyone fights over servers instead of chairs. So recharge your devices, hydrate your brain cells, and prepare for a tour through the global chip war. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, be kind and tap like or subscribe. Seriously, every click tells the algorithm that I deserve slightly more attention than conspiracy videos and raccoon compilations. I'm Kai. See you next time, you delightful little data points.